Hi, this is Nada from the American University in Cairo. I'm going to interview Dr. Ahmed from the biology department. He's going to talk more about the food poison and its problems and how to avoid it. So, hi, Dr. Ahmed.
Hi Nada, how are you?
I'm fine. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ahmed Abdul Latif. I am a visiting assistant professor here at the biology department. This is my fourth semester at AUC, so I'm fairly new.
Okay, you're a new biology?
Yes.
Okay. New biology doctor here. So, can you define for us what is food poisoning?
Okay, food poisoning is an incident or an event that happens after you consume some food, and it can range from the term food poisoning is sort of a little bit general because there are things in food that can actually be like a toxin that you consume. Or an organism that you eat and then it produces the toxin inside you, or you can eat some kind of food that has bacteria on it. Like for example, you can eat chicken with salmonella on it, contaminated with the organism called salmonella. So you're actually eating chicken and salmonella. This salmonella can go inside of your intestine and multiply and start to cause the disease. In some instances, like for example, al-Fisikh in the season of Easter and Shem al-Nasim, there is a kind of toxin, it's called botulism or botulinum toxin. This toxin is produced by an organism that is living or semi-living inside the undercooked fish. And once you eat, the organism starts to multiply and then it produces the toxin inside of your intestine. And this it causes some general problems as well as specific problems like diarrhea and vomiting and things like that.
We're going to talk about the symptoms
Okay, later.
later on. So you think that it is mainly bacteria, a living bacteria or a living microorganism in the contaminated food, whether it's cooked, fully cooked or cooked,
yes.
Okay, and then it lives inside
Yes.
the body of the person.
Yes.
Okay.
There are some exceptions, of course, like in some cases you can get parasites, which are not microorganisms, but they are more like worms, but in a tiny form that you can get them from food as well.
Can you tell me the bacteria that live on the vegetables and the fruits? There is a specific kind of bacteria or?
No, it's most commonly the most common organisms are something called E. coli, sometimes staph, and sometimes, of course, the salmonella. These are probably the most common organisms.
I researched and I found that salmonella and E. coli are the most famous bacteria or microorganisms that cause food poisoning.
Yes.
Okay, fine. What do you think about the food safety nowadays in Egypt or in general in Egypt? What do you think about it?
I think it's unfortunately very bad. Egypt does not enforce any health law on food workers. For example, if you are working in a restaurant, you have to have a health certificate that tells the consumers that you are free from diseases, because sometimes you can actually, as the cook or as the person handling the food, you can take the organism that's living inside of you, put it in the food and give it to another person. So because of the fact that the laws are not very strict, people probably don't pay attention to that very much, and they don't get tested regularly, because it's not just about getting the health certificate at the beginning of work. You have to be very careful. You have to be tested regularly. That's number one. The number two is that the fact that these food workers are not well trained in food safety. So they don't most of the times wear gloves. They don't wear face masks. They don't wear head nets. So they don't even wear a proper clothing for handling food. The utensils that they use are not cleaned properly. So it's a more of a deep cultural problem.
Okay. Do you think also the coverage of the food and the adequate temperature that the food must be kept in the fridge and the contaminated
Surface.
service like the tables, the forks, these
Yes.
stuff also can cause this
Yes,
food
definitely,
poisoning.
definitely, because you know the worker can clean their hand, but they are working with a dirty knife or working on an unclean surface. This definitely adds to the problem.
Okay. So do you think that there must be a closure to any restaurant that violating the restrictions, or there must be more restrictions, or what do you think about? Yani, there are famous restaurants that are supposed to be expensive and supposed to be clean or
Yes.
serving clean food, and they are shut down because of lack of food safety.
Yes.
Do you think?
This is really, yes, I agree, this is a problem. And I think the first step is to train health workers into how to actually enforce the rules, how to make people working at restaurants understand those rules, how to make them follow clean procedures, and maybe even take the workers from restaurants to like workshops and training sessions so that they can know how to handle food properly, they know how to prepare food properly to decrease this problem that we have in Egypt.
Okay. From your personal experience, have you ever got food poisoned before?
Yes, I got food poisoning, I think probably almost a year and a half ago. I ate falafel sandwiches, and after that I got
The most famous Oriental food here in
yeah,
Egypt.
so I had some stomach problems, I had vomiting and had diarrhea, but alhamdulillah it was not very severe, so I was, after
It
3 or 4
passed.
days I recovered, yes.
Okay. So did you visit countries before and you got food poisoned, or you got food poisoned here in Egypt?
I lived in other countries, and I think
Like?
like the United States and United Arab Emirates, and they do have very strict reinforcement of their food safety. They have very strict rules, especially the United States. But even in the United Arab Emirates, for example, which is a small country compared to Egypt, they have very, very strong
Food
police,
restrictions.
and they close restaurants if they see that it's not clean, the food is not
And
safe,
the
it's not
restaurants
kept.
have to pay fines, large
Yes, sometimes
amount of
even
fines.
they lose their license forever. Yeah, but unfortunately, maybe the population, the size of the population is small, so they can control it better. Here in Egypt, the size of the
I think
population
it's
is
not
large.
an excuse. But
Yes, I agree.
unfortunately, it's not an excuse. Okay. So what do you think are the main causes behind food poisoning?
Well, I think the main issue in Egypt is that individuals in Egypt they don't pay very close attention to their personal cleanliness. They don't clean, washing their hands, washing your hands after using the toilet, for example, or after handling food, you have to wash your hands and things like that. These very basic things, like just washing your hands with water and soap, is lacking, because most of the times the worker is on a street corner selling, for example, food and falafel and sandwiches. They don't have running water to clean their hands, and they just use maybe a bucket or a bottle of water. So this is
And the
significant.
food is exposed to
Yes.
flies and
Yes,
insects
yes.
and these things.
So the environment, the clean environment that is supposed to be there when you actually have a food facility is not there. The second most important thing is the education. We don't have the proper education about
culture.
cleanliness. You know, we always say النظافة من الإيمان, النظافة من الإيمان, but we really don't apply it very, very strongly to our daily practices. To, you know, wash your hands and wash your face and trim your nails and all of this stuff.
Okay. Can you give us more explanation about what happened? You know, what are the symptoms or what happens after the person got food poisoned?
Yeah, the most common form of food poisoning is again like the contamination of food by an organism, and usually you get a little bit of an upset stomach, your stomach hurts, maybe some colicky pain in your stomach, you throw up, you have diarrhea, maybe some fever, but then most of the times it takes 3 to 4 days and it then goes away. Some severe forms, for example, like the case of in the case of al-fasikh, where it's actually a toxin. This toxin can actually go into the blood and start in circulation and actually kill the person if not treated. Because the botulism is a toxin that creates some form of paralysis in the nervous system. So if you don't get an antidote for that particular toxin, you will start cramping and all over your body, and then the person will die.
So have you heard about the most recent incident about the people who got, I think 300 people or something, that got poisoned from after?
Yes, I think in Al-Sharqiyya.
I think yes, one of the government.
Yeah, I think this is not specifically food poisoning, but I think it's
huge number of
yes,
people.
I think it's probably this. If the number is that big, it's probably something related to the water source. So I think they consume water. The sort of the cleaning facility that provides water for this area. Yes, it's probably not working or was contaminated with something. And also sometimes when, especially in rural areas, the pipes underground, they get eroded and rusted. So they start leaking sewage water, and the sewage water gets mixed with the drinking water. So I think this is the reason, and this is not the first incident. It has been repeating.
There was
and repeating.
another incident in Azhar University when a lot of students ate from the cafeteria or the food outlet, which is a single food outlet in the whole campus, and they got food poisoned, and it was a huge chaos.
Yes.
So we have a huge incidents, a terrible incidents about food poisoning, and there is a recent one, unfortunately.
Yes.
So how can we try to avoid getting food poisoned?
I think the first, the first very important thing as an individual is to try to minimize the amount of food that you eat outside of your home. And for example, if you want to eat salad, you have to get the salad and wash it yourself and then prepare the salad. Don't buy ready-made salad because green vegetables and leafy vegetables are very common in carrying.
Have to be washed.
They have to be washed very, very carefully. And the second thing is to also avoid, especially in countries like Egypt, eating raw food like maybe sushi. People not a lot of people
eat. It's very widely spread nowadays.
But I have seen that it's becoming common, especially among
it's becoming common. A lot of restaurants are opening and offering sushi with different trends and different days.
Yeah.
So
this is very dangerous because it's raw fish. It's not cooked. So you have to the steps is to you learn how to wash your hands very carefully. You wash your food very carefully as much as you can, and then you cook it very, very, very carefully as much as you can, because undercooked food is as dangerous as as a non-cooked food. And so it has to be cooked at high temperature for a long time.
And it has to be covered.
Yes, definitely. After you cook your food, you cover it. You put it in a good freezer. You don't allow, for example, small children to handle it, because small children might be carrying,
And
you
to
know,
clean
dirt and
the surface of the tables and the kitchen
Yes,
and these
yes.
stuff.
yeah. So it's the basic hygiene techniques that can make everybody safe from food poisoning. You know, clean yourself, clean your surrounding, clean the surface you're working with, clean the food that you're working with. Then everybody will be safe.
Okay. Do you want to add anything again, Dr.
No,
Ahmed?
thank you very much. Thank you very much for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed.